I suck at acting, and I think I've worked out why. And I reckon it ties back to having schizoid personality disorder, which I only found out this year. So now I finally know why I suck at acting, and it's not just that I'm shy. I think schizoid personality disorder really is a big part of it. Now, how I got on this train of thought, I'm watching Dexter season 5, which I think is actually quite good. Like, I've seen criticisms online with people saying it's not, it's very forgettable or whatever, and not good enough, and they prefer season 4. Season 4 is a lot of people's favorite season. I don't understand. I think maybe I'm too schizoid to understand, because there's so much unnecessary relationship drama going in there, and I'm like, I don't care about that. Get back to the main story. But they do all that kind of stuff. And I also don't like the bad guy. I realize some people probably like him just because of who the actor is, but I don't like the bad guy. Even setting aside my brain constantly thinking of Dick Solomon going, how could this guy be a serial killer? Even setting that aside and trying to give it a real chance, I just don't like the character. I don't like all that stuff. It's not for me. And I guess maybe I'm too schizoid to understand, because I'm not taken in by the relationship stuff, and I don't really care about celebrity. But anyway, so I'm enjoying Dexter season 5. At the time of filming, I just watched episode 6. That's the most recent one I watched. And there's so much fun stuff. Like there's an episode called Beauty and the Beast, and they actually do a callback to the original Disney animation, like when Dexter's cleaning her wounds. It's absolutely Beauty and the Beast, like a callback to that, and really fun. If I want to be like an HSC English nerd, intertextuality. Remember when we all had to learn that word? Anyway, no, episode 6. What made me think of all the acting stuff is there's a scene sort of towards the end of the episode, I think, where they're in, Dexter and Rita's old house, and they're in the bathroom where Rita died. And so Dexter and Lumen, they're sitting in front of the bathtub, and they're having a bit of a dialogue, and it starts off fairly neutral. This is all done in a single shot too, because the camera starts, I think, around the doorway, and then it sort of comes down and then comes in front of them very slowly. Like, it's done very gradually, so you don't really notice it. And then, so they're having this dialogue done in a single shot, and Lumen is, in particular, I was watching her, and she's talking about things that happened to her and, her life, whatever. Starts off neutral, and then she gets into more of the emotional stuff, and the actress goes from neutral into this more upset mode, bringing up that kind of emotion, and then gets to the real, like, single teardrop thing. And it's a single shot, so it's not like someone could have just gone and put something in her eye. She made that happen herself. And I'm just watching it going, oh my god, actors, like, wow. And then, that thing is what really tipped me over the edge. I mean, it's enough that they both learned all their lines, all the beats, all the emotional things, the things they have to do with their face. I'm just watching it, like, you could have put that in a theatre. It's not like your TV thing where you can chop up the scenes and then they could put an eyedropper thing in. No, they did this as if it was theatre, and she makes the actual teardrop happen. And I'm just watching that going, oh my god, how do you do that? And the thing is, I've done drama classes. I've looked at some acting theory, like not all of it. I didn't get that deeply in it because I knew very early on that I was not going to get there. But, I've studied a bit of that stuff, and I just was never able to do it. And I think I understand why now. So to skip a bunch of rambling, Year 11 is when we did, I got my first taste of acting theory. I only did it for year 11. Drama was almost part of my HSC, but I dropped it because I just realized it wasn't going to go well for me. And, I had picked up the 4th unit of maths, and so something had to go, and drama was it. Which is a bit sad because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the challenge, I was really good at maths, but it was boring, whereas drama, I sucked at it, but it was interesting. And anyway, and I was still shy back then, so that didn't help. I thought shyness was the reason that I couldn't do the acting and couldn't, go through all the steps that I needed to. But I realize now it might be more to do with schizoid personality disorder and the limited range of emotions that I feel. And, it also didn't help that I was young and didn't have many experiences back then, but, already being emotionally stunted compared to my peers, there's just a lot that I couldn't do. So in year 11, the theory that we looked at. It was like some Stanislavski guy, and I don't know how accurate this is because my memory, like, this is a long time ago. I'm older than I look, at least to most people. Yeah, I'm 400 years old. I'm basically a vampire. I just don't age. Anyway, no. So Stanislavski, what they taught us in year 11 drama was, you're supposed to like remember things that you felt, and then sort of bring them to the surface a bit more so that you can physically have more of a realistic thing going on and portray whatever it is you need to portray by like calling bits from your own life, your own memory, emotional memory, I guess. And yeah, I never developed that, and I think it's because I just don't really experience many emotions. Maybe I'd be able to do it with like feeling sad, but I think that would be a bit risky for me because, you know, when I say sad, I mean depressed. I don't know if I experience normal sadness. Usually I just go on this existential spiral, and I don't know, like I guess I don't really have full awareness of my emotions anyway, even something as obvious as that. But yeah, just realizing I may not be capable of all that kind of stuff, and maybe that explains why I suck at acting, why I just can't do it. And you know, yeah, so, and it makes me think about how I've done some scare acting in the past few years, and I could do that. So 2019 I was in the Yorkai maze at Hallow Scream. I was a Yorkai. I was sort of a creepy Japanese woman in a kimono, Japanese ghost. I even had the kimono folded in the wrong way to indicate death, because there's whether you put the left or the right in front, that indicates there's like a way that you do it. So I had it done the wrong way to show that I was dead. And most of my roles, I was a swing actor, so most of the roles I was filling in was just like sort of jump out and scare people from different positions and doing a few different things. But one of the roles I had was as the person who introduces the maze to the next group of people who come in, and I had this script to go through where I'm saying like, you're about to enter this museum, don't touch anything, and this is all about our Japanese history and so on. I'm half Japanese, by the way, so yeah, my pronunciation was pretty good. We had Japanese groups come in, and when I said that, they actually seemed to think that I was Japanese and would respond in Japanese, and then seem a little surprised when I continued on in English. So if I had my time again, I would learn the script in Japanese. But I actually did that quite well, and I think the reason is because creepy Japanese woman is what I kind of am in a way. I mean, maybe not as I am here, but so I have to bring up the dissociation. I don't have dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities, split personalities. I don't have the actual disorder, but I have some similar experiences, which I've seen a specialist for. Don't know what that means yet, because I'm waiting to see my regular psychologist and the letter they've sent. Okay, caught up with that. But I do have a part of me that is that creepy Japanese woman. I mean, I'm Japanese, that's a creepy part of me. So I just channeled that. And that's how I was able to do that role. And it's that sort of Stanislavski-ish thing, is I was pulling from something that's actually inside me. And so I was able to do the role. I was able to say the lines, but do it in the right way, scare a few people in the middle, because I managed to come up with my own little jump scare in the middle of this speech that the people weren't ready for. And I think I did a good job of it, and people... Yeah, there's some people I didn't even have to say anything, and they were terrified, like up against the bamboo paper walls, freaking out. But yeah, I think the only reason I was able to play that role is because that was already a part of me. Whereas normal people acting, that's not a part of me, so I can't do it. I can't bring it out. Like, I can't act. I can only be the things that I already am. So like that whole Hallow Scream thing, the only part of it that was acting for me was memorizing the script. The rest of it was coming from a real part of myself. And so I can't act. I can only do what I already am. And then, so last year I was like a sort of mutated monster thing, and so I pretended to be a statue because I had nowhere really to hide. And then once people thought I was a statue and started to move on, that's when I'd get out there and scare them, with my death metal growls, and freak them out that way. And that comes from a sort of similar thing. It's just, there's a part of me that wants to do that to people, and so it's just that plus putting on the reins so it doesn't take it too far. That's all I was doing. To me, it wasn't really acting. That's actually coming from a part of me. So, yeah, I was just thinking about that, watching the actors in Dexter doing that whole thing, actually bringing up the emotion at the right time, on cue. Even the teardrop thing. I was just like, how? And that's what got me thinking about all this stuff and why I couldn't do acting. And, if you're wondering why a schizoid even thought about doing acting, I think that is coming from that other part of me, because I don't even know how long I've had it, because when I was really little, I used to go on stage a lot. Like, I think I've always just had that big ego thing, which seems to have been pulled into this other part of me. So always wanting to get on stage, always trying to get a role in something, not always being successful, because I especially had social anxiety in high school, but I was also shy when I was younger. But that part of me is still pushing me to get on stage, trying to get roles and stuff. And I think in high school, more consciously, when I thought to go into drama and thought maybe acting is a thing I should do, it's because that part of me was looking for a way to get out there into the real world. And, when you watch movies, these actors get to be all these different characters, and there are certain characters that I really relate to. You can see some of my collection in the background. Certain characters I really relate to, and so I think that part of me was hoping to play those characters. But of course, I'm a small female. I'm not going to get a role like that. There's very few roles that have that part for my body shape, my body type. So yeah, acting, I think that's why I got into it and why I tried, despite being super shy. Like, I was very overt schizoid in high school when I had all these thought processes. It was really hard for me to say anything. I remember, I think in English classes we also had to do a few drama things, and, with my group wanted to all put on accents, and I couldn't even make an attempt to do an accent because I was just so shut in. I could only speak in my small voice or whatever. I don't know, especially going through the whole puberty. I think that's when the brain patterns really set in, and a lot of mental illness comes up when you go through puberty because your brain is doing all this stuff and all the problems solidify. So I was going through that, and I couldn't even attempt to do an accent. Later in high school, I did. It just was an inconsistent accent because, year 11 drama, we also did these little skits and things. And so, there was one where I had to be like a chef, and I don't even know what nationality I was supposed to be, but I tried to put on an accent. And I guess it sounded like an accent, just from what country, who knows. So I did make some progress in that sense, but yeah. Anyway, so I think the reason that I tried to take drama as elective, so in year 9 I did an elective drama and film. My first taste at video editing, back when it was really hard, we had a VHS thing and had to write down time codes for the teacher to digitize for us. And then I think the computer might have used destructive editing, so if you made a mistake and saved it, you couldn't go back to a source file. It's just, oh my god, my introduction to that. And then I became a YouTuber, wow. So I chose that as an elective, and then year 11. Almost became an HSC subject. My drama teacher was actually really upset when I quit because apparently my writing was pretty good. That's the first teacher who's ever noticed I was any good at writing, because HSC English, it's weird. They had, or at least it was back when I did it, they had some weird things they were trying to pull in from like university level stuff where they try and interpret Shakespeare from a feminist postmodern perspective. And I'm like, these things did not exist when Shakespeare was around. I'm pretty sure he wasn't trying to write these plays as a feminist commentary, so why are we doing it? I couldn't understand that kind of stuff. But in drama, when I was writing, we had a section where we had to write reviews. Apparently my writing, I got really good marks, high 90s for that, which I had never done in anything except maths and science at that point in my life. So my drama teacher really wanted me to stay in drama, and then for my final assessment, instead of doing a performance, apparently I could have done reviews, but I actually wanted to do more video, and I wanted to do something like more of a music video type stuff, but apparently that wasn't going to satisfy the requirements, and so I thought, no video, I don't want to do this anymore, so I quit. But he wanted me to stay and do reviews, but in terms of performance, I never would have gotten through that for the HSC. Anyway, I got into drama for the wrong reasons, because that part of me was looking for a way out. Saw movies, thought that might be a way, but what I didn't realize at the time is that when you're an actor, you are cast in particular roles, you were told what to do. It's not self-expression, really. It's you portraying what you need to portray, and I think that's why music ended up being a better way for me. I mean, I did try art and thinking performance art, but the art world just doesn't really suit me. Whereas music, you know, especially heavy music, underground music, you can become a different character. You decide the character, you decide how you're going to portray yourself, you decide your lyrics, everything about your performance, what you wear, it's all up to you. I don't know that I ever really got that character to properly be expressed on stage, but I got closer that way. Yeah, so I got into acting for the wrong reasons, didn't realize it wasn't going to do what that part of me wanted. Music's better. I still have a lot of blocks, like I haven't really dealt with what that whole is. I really need to talk to my therapist, my psychologist, about what I do next. And whether that, you know, whether I need to put more effort into that or what, but yeah, music seemed like a better place because a lot of musicians do have alter egos as part of their stage persona, so that made more sense. Anyway, so yeah, I was just having a think because I saw that scene in Dexter season 5, Dexter and Lumen in the bathroom, that long dialogue done in a single shot, you know, good work from the actors, also good work from the camera person, making it so smooth, getting everything timed, like to set up a shot like that, how much they had to do, I don't know how many takes they did, but there's one take that made it in, and she does that whole single teardrop. Everything is perfect. Dexter's reactions, all that kind of stuff. I was just like, wow, amazing. And like this season, I've noticed a lot of stuff that they've done that's actually like clever and interesting. And, you know, the Beauty and the Beast thing and a few other moments and, you know, the way that music's handled as well. I was just like, wow, but seeing that performance from the actress and thinking back to when I used to try and do drama and stuff, it is just like, I don't know how you do that. I think the most convincing thing I ever did in an acting class was in music school. I did drama for, I think, 2 electives. When I was in the diploma, I had 2 electives in drama, I think. And yeah, I really struggled. Like there was one day where I had to, like, you know, I would turn up in all my goth gear because by then I was going deep into that goth phase with that other part of me, like, you know, I had wanted to not live anymore, so I was living more for that part of me. I was trying to, you know, if that part wants to live, we'll just do what maybe might fit into the world. So yeah, I would turn up with all my goth stuff, and one day the drama teacher wanted me to get up in front of the whole class, which is always, you know, I was still fairly nervous back then. I didn't really learn to be on stage until after I was in metal bands and, you know, I had a really good gig one day and finally things started to click in terms of how to perform in a music context. But yeah, back then I was still very nervous. And he wanted me to basically be like play school, like be one of these kids presenters and pretend I'm like reading a book to a bunch of kids. I think I actually had a book that I was supposed to be reading, and I just couldn't do it without seeming creepy. Like I had all that in my head. I didn't know what to do. It was like trying to read a book to kids in the way that those people, and I just, yeah, I couldn't even do that, you know. But the most convincing one I think I did is we were doing a play. I think it was something to do with like Russians before their, you know, monarchy or emperors or tsars or whatever, before they got kicked out. I don't remember all the history, but yeah, something Russian, blah blah. And there was a moment where I was doing a scene with a dude, and the character is supposed to be expressing his love for the character I'm playing, and in one of the run-throughs he actually got my hand and kissed my hand, and I think I was so unprepared for that I actually had that sort of embarrassed reaction, and he didn't do it again after that because it probably was quite obvious that I was like, what? And I think the character was meant to be a bit like, what? So that worked well, but I could only do it once because there was only one time that I wasn't expecting it. And then after that, like, you know, one of the things that actors do well, like good actors do well, is being able to be surprised. Because, like, it's hard. If you've got a script, you know what's coming up. So how do they do that? How do they make it so that they genuinely seem surprised when things happen? Now, in some acting, I also noticed like the dialogue can be really artificial, because if you if you watch a lot of TV shows, the way they talk is not how real people talk. Real conversation is a lot messier. It's not people waiting for their turn to say something. You know, sometimes people will accidentally start talking at the same time or butt in at weird places and all that kind of stuff. So I find that a little bit hard to watch. But when the actors just genuinely know how to seem surprised, that, like, how do you do that? They're just able to call that back, I guess. And I guess that leads me to a reason why I don't use scripts for my videos. I did experiment a little bit early on with punk rave, because before I had the whole OBS thing set up, you know, using my old computer, which struggled with OBS, you know, before I had all that set up properly, I would used to, you know, I couldn't see the website, so I'd still be sitting in the other room and I'd read out the sort of pre-written thing, and then later sync it up to what OBS captured, because I just didn't trust it to do everything. Didn't know how to use OBS properly back then either. So yeah, I'd read that kind of script, but it was so hard to make it sound genuine. I don't know if you go back to some of my early Punk Rave Australia videos, you might be able to hear that I'm reading from a script, whereas when I ditched that and then I went into the actual review of the thing, you know, the way that I'm talking about the clothes seems more genuine. Occasionally there'd be things where I'd need to refilm what I just said because something went wrong, maybe with the angle or whatever. But generally, it's all just my reaction at the time. And then, you know, in a lot of my vlogs, I'm just going off the top of my head and it's sort of a more natural speech. I mean, I have developed a YouTube way of speaking, a YouTube persona, and how I vlog is different to how I do the fashion videos, review videos. There's a difference there. So I have developed some patterns, but it's much more natural and it's not, like, it doesn't feel as artificial. If I try and read something from a script, I really suck at it. And I think it's, you know, especially if you're trying to sound like it's something that you're just thinking of now. I don't know how to do that, reading from something pre-written. And I think the way that I write doesn't match really how I speak well. So yeah, reading it, it just seems so unnatural. So I guess with some of the acting, like, it helps having people who are good at dialogue. But I know that actors can adjust things if they think the dialogue isn't quite right. Sometimes, you know, depending on the production and how much freedom they have, sometimes they will make it more natural. But yeah, no, I was just, you know, when actors genuinely seem surprised, that's amazing. And how do they do it? And how do you do a single teardrop in such a long scene where you have to go through that neutral and then go through her remembering the trauma that she's been through and then have that... I'm just blown away by it, you know, when actors actually do things well and everything about the production. Amazing. And I think I'm too schizoid to ever be an actor, and I just... yeah, it's just some interesting thing to think about. Yeah. And then, you know, with the dissociation stuff, I understand why I got into acting, but I also now understand why I never stood a chance. And yeah, it's good that I moved on from that life, because, yeah, oh my gosh. But so an appreciation for actors. And I know there are other styles of acting besides the sort of Stanislavski thing. I think method acting is a bit similar, but you, like, live it. And then there's also the more British style of acting where they just... like, have you ever noticed how American actors always seem to play themselves? Because I think they tend to follow more of that Stanislavski thing, so they are drawing more from themselves. But then British actors and actors from that part of the world, they manage to play so many different characters. And, like, you know, House. Gregory House. And then when you hear the actor actually speaking in his own accent, and you're like, how are you the same person? That's amazing. Anyway, so yeah, appreciation for good actors, and some of the things that they can do. I just... yeah, after Hallowscream, I thought about taking acting classes again, but when I think about it and think about my emotional stuntedness, yes, I've learned to be more expressive, but it's still a very limited amount of things that I can portray and that I film for myself, and I just can't do it. I am not actor material. And that's my ramble for today.